Yes, it looks good. Sorry, I'm getting a bit sick of seeing myself this close shot on camera. I'm going to have to get some kind of remote to do it from over there. But anyway, thanks for bearing with us with our technical challenges that we faced. Oh, I think I've still got an issue. Is that working? Oh, it is working. Yeah, I just couldn't see it there. Anyway, gives you time to get yourself sorted. No real equipment needed. Unless you've got some, you can use what you have, maybe, if you want, but maybe a blanket. Blanket's nice. Pad up the knees, a little bit of warmth maybe today as well. And just to add a little bit of comfort if you feel that you need for a couple of postures. But we're going to take some spicy postures today. I use the word spicy. Oh, can you see now? Can you see me now, Andrea? Actually, just check everyone can see me. Okay, yeah, I've got a light thumbs up there. Maybe it's okay there. Okay. Get back to me, Andrea, if you're still there. If not, I hope you can catch up at some point soon. Sorry. Yeah, we've got some spicy postures coming up today. I use that word spicy. To me, it describes good. It describes like a sensation of warmth in the body. It's kind of a fairly challenging. Some of the postures can be fairly challenging when they have that warming quality. Kind of invigorates the body. It helps a bit of chi move around the body, helps us feel a little bit more energized. So it can be a really great way to experience yin. If you haven't done any of the spicier postures, then this is a class that will offer a few stronger sensations. Shoulders mainly, and in the hips for the stronger sensations today. I'm just rambling on here until anyone else wants to join in has arrived. Okay, well, it's gone 11 anyway, but I was a little bit late getting started. So you're very welcome. I'm glad that you can join in. I'm just going to set the music on and then we'll get started. So I'd like you to start off in our first posture today, and that will be a version of child pose. Now, I've got a few ideas how you might like to create that child pose and what that might look like, but get yourself settled roughly towards sort of the back of your mat, actually, with your feet, and have the toes untucked. So the big toes are together and the tops of the feet and the toenail edge of the foot, side of the foot is on the floor. Have the knees apart a little bit, not super wide, not as wide as your mat, but enough space to ease at the hip joints and maybe what might feel like a little bit of space around your abdomen as well. So when you fold forward, it can feel a little bit more restful, but really go with the flow of what feels right for your body today. Don't force the hips back. If it feels uncomfortable in your hips, your ankles and your knees, then feel free to keep weight forward into your forearms. Or if you're feeling pretty loose there today, or you naturally are loose there, then you can go all the way back. I'd like you to take your arms out in front. Initially, just relaxed, actually. So hands forward, head low. It might not be the floor. You could use your blanket here, or if you've got any other props, you can rest the head on. If it's not comfortable to have the head hanging, then instead you can use your arms or your hands underneath your head. And then settling in. And maybe closing the eyes. That's great. So wide leg child pose, if you're just joining in. Hips back or gently easing behind, if not all the way down. You don't have to go all the way down with your pelvis. And then the head resting or arms extended. And as you're preparing for the class, of course, this is our first posture anyway. This offers the inward-looking perspective, which is very much around this style practice, is inward sensation, inward awareness. Less about the shape or the form, but about the sensation, the feeling. And what I said at the beginning, when I switched the camera on there, was that there will be a few postures that have this spicy element, the strongest sensation, a warming quality, maybe what might feel like a challenging quality. But it isn't about endurance. So the sensation is about what feels right for you. And there might be a challenge, but I don't want you to push yourself to the point where um, you feel like you're trying to strive. Okay, so this practice is very much around settling in and being able to rest without feeling a large amount of effort. So it's not about putting in more effort. In fact, less is more, although we're not trying to achieve more. So edge on the side of backing off intensity if some of the postures begin to feel like that for you, if they begin to feel intense. And so we're resting inwards. And as you rest here, observe your breath. Breathe in your natural way. So rather than changing the breath to breathing in a yoga fashion or any particular style, what I'd like you to do is breathe in a way that suits the body and suits the posture, each posture being different, of course. So notice how it feels to breathe when you're folded like this over your legs. Where does the breath play out your attention? Where does your attention rest on your breath? What's obvious within the scope of the feeling of your breath and the way that you're breathing? We're going to stay here in child pose as far as the lower body is concerned. We're going to add a little bit more effort now into the arms. You can lift the head if it's useful to prepare and set up, but then you might want to let the head drop back down. It might not touch the floor now. But what we're going to do is lift up onto the fingertips. You're probably looking at the camera, right? So lifting up onto the fingertips and create what is sometimes called spider fingers or cupcake hands. I don't really know the cupcake thing. I don't really get that. Something about a cupcake underneath your hand, but spider fingers makes sense to me. There's an effort to lift, obviously, then at your wrist, your forearms. I'd like you to straighten your arms out as much as you can. You can let the head drop back down. It might not touch the floor. Have your hands shoulder width apart and widen across the back of the shoulder head. So across the space between the shoulder blades. There's some effort in the hands here, I guess. It's not just restful around your hands. Stay restful with your breath. It's actually a really great thing to do with your hands if you do suffer any repetitive strain injury from using a keyboard or a mouse. If people use a mouse still, I guess you might do if you suffer from repetitive strain. But this is strengthening in the palms of your hands and into the upper part of the wrist, strengthening the fingers. And now we're going to transfer this into a stronger posture for the shoulders. So we're going to move up onto the knees. Now, if you need a bit of padding, you can use a blanket under your knees to assist you in staying on the knees. We're going to stay on the knees for this posture. And we're going to come into puppy pose. So from a tabletop shape, reach the hands further forward than where your shoulders would be. And you can choose how far forward that is without moving your hips. Just the hands go forward, just the arms extend out in front. Again, shoulder width, and we'll go for palms flat this time, just because it makes sense. It's easier in this posture to have the palms flat, but spread the fingers. Have the first finger pointing forward. So the first finger, if you were to trace a line up the arm, It's in line with the first finger all the way up to the shoulder. That's preventing any twisted wrist positions. Check the fingers are not rolling inwards. You can have the first finger forward. It helps you to widen across your shoulders, and that is the aim of this posture. So allowing the chest to drop down. Arms stay extended, so keep them straight. Try not to let the forearms drift to the floor. And again, head is hanging. Maybe it's touching, doesn't have to be on the mat. It's a long way down there, so it might not be the case. Find an effort to open and roll out the shoulders away from each other again through pressing into the hands, especially the base of the first finger. So the knuckle at the base of the first finger pressing into the mat. Keep it firmly pressed down. It might get quite tiring here. And so already within the scope of 2 postures, we're finding how we can create this spiciness or this warmth. It's a challenge, but I don't want you to feel like you're challenging yourself. It's about, where does this sensation go to? Where does it move? How does it feel? And what does it feel like to be in discomfort for a period of time? And I'm not wanting you to be in pain. Pain isn't within the scope of this practice or any yoga practice that we offer. Let's take 2 more breaths. And then when you're ready to release, we're going to walk the hands back. So moving slowly to come back to tabletop position. Oh, I got carried away talking there. We held that for a long time, didn't we? Okay, let's move on to the front of the body. So we're going to lay down on the front, but when you go onto your abdomen, scoot over to the left side of your mat. You can be half on, half off, but don't worry, because we're going to roll into the middle of the mat anyway. So you're on the left side of your mat, just to make things clear, as it'll get a bit confusing. It's not complicated posture. Reach your right hand out to the side. I don't know whether you can see that. You actually can't see that very well, can you? You've got your right hand out to the side. See, I'm confusing myself now. At shoulder height, don't bend the elbow. Bending the elbow will make this even more challenging. So I wouldn't advise bending the elbow unless you're very, very flexible in your right shoulder. Palm facing the floor, the right hand palm facing the floor. And then begin to roll onto the right side. So on the side of the shoulder that we're stretching, onto the right side of your pelvis. It's useful to bend the knees to make your lower body stable and comfortable. You can let the head rest down. It's not the most restful position for the head, or if you're lucky enough to get your blanket there, actually, you could rest the head on the blanket. My left hand is just resting in front of my chest here, just to support me slightly. If you're very flexible, feeling pretty good, you can go further, which basically means you're almost, if not rolling onto the back of your pelvis. But it's not important how far you go. All about sensation in that right shoulder. If you can, and what I'd like you to try and do is rest through the whole body, in particular, of course, around that right shoulder. So resting through the arm, the shoulder, the chest. It helps if you're stable through the lower body and legs. Assist yourself, maybe relaxing your neck. Let the head be heavy. And then finding that steady breath. So this is the first of our longer held postures. It is, like I say, one of the spicier qualities. You can feel it pretty quickly. For most people, no matter how you're forming the shape, usually if your shoulder feels okay, we tend to want to go to feel a decent stretch here. I know I like this stretch, so I like to feel that I've really opened out the shoulder and chest area. And for me, it doesn't edge over into pain at all, and you want to check that that's the case for you as well. If it starts to feel like that, back off. Always feel you can rest out of a posture at any time. Don't feel like you have to hold it just because I haven't told you not to change position yet. And just see what happens. You can edge out slightly if it begins to build. You can, of course, go slightly further in if you find that actually the sensation's shifted and it gives you scope to open out more. So the yin quality of these yoga postures is to be restful in the postures. Try and be still in the postures, and try not to try, actually. So without effort. We're going to take what will be a total of 3 minutes on this side, so we're nearly done. Take a few more breaths. Feel like maybe that's useful to know. Some people like to know, actually, there's not much longer to go here. That can affect how you hold yourself in a posture. Maybe you're holding back, and maybe you're as relieved, of course, as well. It's worth moving slowly when you exit, not just this posture, all the postures where we feel that intensity, moving slowly to roll back over onto your front. So you're rolling away from the extended arm. And when you're ready, you might want to roll all the way over onto your abdomen, actually. Release that right arm, maybe rest the forehead or the side of the face on the arms, relax the shoulder. And take a few breaths resting on the front body, relaxing down the legs, the chest. Allow your breath to come back to its natural pattern. So you might have noticed that when we add this spicier element to the postures, the breath changes. Of course, that's normal. It's the way the body responds when we're under pressure. Hopefully feeling maybe now that a few moments have passed from the stretch, the posture, feeling good around the arms, the shoulders and chest. It seems to be the thing people really like to do around the shoulders in these particular classes. Feels like they're doing good for their posture, which of course you are. So let's scoot over gently to the right side of your mat to set up the second side. So over on the right side, so you can reach your left arm out to the left, shoulder height, arm straight, palm down. Take your time, no rush. Rolling over to the left, second side. Might be different on the second side. Might be surprisingly different. If you have tightness in your shoulder, you might already be prepared for that. You might roll further. You might roll less far across. You can go slowly in. You can be tentative and judge how it feels. These are strong sensations, so it makes you pay attention, which is great. Right? It means that we're focused on what's going on the mat. Settle into how the legs feel. The legs are rested or supporting you in your position. Relax the arm, the shoulder, the chest, the head, the neck, the face, and your breath. And so you have an idea of how long we're going to be here on this side. It's actually just a short time out of this practice. It might feel like you're counting every second, every passing moment or breath. especially if you feel this quite intensely. This is a short few moments to be with this discomfort or challenging sensation. But remember, it's not a test. You're not challenging yourself to test how long you can do this for. You just go with the flow, what the body's saying, what the body is presenting, and how it feels. And stay for a few more breaths. Slowly begin to release, taking your time to roll back onto the front of the body. Moving as slow as you need to account for that intense sensation. Settle in and when you're ready to rest on the front body again. If you turn the head the other way and relax down your legs. Relax the chest and arms, shoulders. Allow the breath to move back to your natural, normal rhythm. And then we'll begin to release. So take your time to bring yourself up. And we're going to stay on. We're going to stay on the front body. Hope you didn't come all the way up. I was moving quick to have a look at my plan. I forgot. We're going to stay on the front, actually, which makes more sense. And have the elbows underneath the shoulders. So seal posture or sphinx posture with the elbows under shoulders. The arms and hands can now relax. And your legs are staying relaxed as well. Slight upward lift of the chest naturally because the arm position and the head, however you prefer. So head can be directly forward, which is useful for the neck, or if you're feeling that you want a bit of a neck stretch, you can let the head hang. It might build quite a lot in the neck because we're holding this for 3 minutes. So you might want to shift or change the head position after a short while, or you might like that. So there's nothing wrong with stretching the neck. I just always offer a caution around the head position for obvious reasons. Shoulders slightly lifted, so try not to round the shoulders. Chest is staying upright, even if the head is lower. Settle in the lower body, relax the legs, relax your lower back. There's an awkwardness, admittedly, to the lower back area for most people, I think, from what they've told me. It's certainly normal to feel a little bit unsure about how it feels in the lower back here. If you're not familiar with doing this kind of shape or posture with your body, or if you have a stiff lower back, you might feel that this is quite intense. So, as always, don't feel you have to hold it. If you're working into this posture, the first few times you approach it, you might want to take a break or stop earlier. And if you're going to do that, the best thing to do is to simply lower the chest back down to the mat. So taking the bend out of the back as much as possible whenever you need to. And so, of course, not feeling like it's a challenge or it's not an endurance. Take what you need and leave the rest behind. That's okay. So notice your breath here. Notice how it feels to breathe around the front body, how the chest feels now it's a bit more open. Notice how it feels to breathe in the back of the body as well. So we're a short while into this posture. Hopefully you can feel that you're settling down into it. Heaviness around the lower body, lifted openness around the upper body. I know lots of people who practice this with me in person like this posture, very familiar with it in their bodies. If it's your first time, you might not want to try the second part. It doesn't mean the second part's an advanced thing. It's just not always appropriate for people who are not so familiar with how this is going to feel. Of course, you can try it. You can stop and back off at any point. Basically, all we're going to do, if you want to take the second variation, is to press the hands into the floor without moving the hand position from where you were, to extend the arms out. So this we tend to call seal posture in Yin Yoga. It's an extended, lifted, slightly stronger sensation, obviously, in the lower back. See what you think. It's not for everybody. You want to assist the lower back area to relax around your buttocks and legs still. The best thing to do here, if you're going to stay in it, is to get the arms straight, actually. So if you can get the arms to lock out, it's easier to stay in the position than it is to have them halfway bent. It tends to be an overburn on your biceps if you bend your elbows. It's just to make it more restful for those of you who are staying in this position. And so see how it feels today. If you've not practiced this posture for a while, you might find actually you need to back off a little bit sooner than how you would normally approach this posture. I normally teach 3 Yin Yoga classes every week. And so I know a lot of you attend several times in the week yourself. And you might find that if you've not done that regular practice, things shift, things change. And of course, that's okay. We're all adapting to new schedules and scenarios. So we're getting pretty good at that at the minute. And take this in your stride as well. Let's stay for a few more breaths, whether you're in the uplifted position or the lower position, or if you already started to rest, that's okay. Lowering the chest down eventually, in your own time, nice and slowly, to move back onto the mat. So lowering chest down. Rest down through your legs a little bit more than perhaps where you were. And breathe into the lower back. So as you're inhaling, feel the space between the lower ribs and the back of the pelvis expand. As if you could make your waist a little bit longer or taller. And as you're breathing in, also allowing the space around the kidneys to expand. So as if you could inflate the kidneys wider with the breath moving in. Little balloons, little kidney balloons expanding with your breath, expanding. Slowly begin to move from the floor. We're going to move up onto the hands and knees this time. I'm going to turn around to face the other way because I just feel more comfortable. How weird is that? I've got a new comfort zone, even though I was out my comfort zone a few weeks ago. Also, I can see my plan, right? So we're going to stay on one knee. Maybe you want to use your blanket now. If you didn't use it before, you might want to use it. Some of you might know what's coming here, but we're going to have the right foot from this tabletop shape, the right foot forward between the hands. So literally dragging the right foot forward as far as you can. Your body, you choose how far, but try to get the hips further forward than the back knee. Okay, so hips further forward than the back knee. The right foot is flat to the floor, and we're going to start off with the foot between the hands. We're going to change things up after a short while. Hips are going to stay low without forcing them down. And then, so allowing basically your abdomen to be either on your thigh or just to the inside of your thigh. You can have the hands flat or spider fingers, again, if you can't reach the floor easily here. Chest slightly lifted. You can have the head down, whatever feels good. But the pelvis is low. Steady breaths. And it is called dragon posture for a reason. Some of you know exactly what that reason is. If you haven't felt it already, you might begin to starting to feel that warming quality within the body. So obviously back off if it's too intense. We are going to be here for a while, so bear that in mind with the level or depth of the posture that you've chosen. Do your best to relax around the sensation around the hips, the thighs, the legs, buttock, hip joints, and then assist yourself in this, in relaxing with relaxing the face, relaxing the jaw, relaxing your breath. Check in with the breath. Check it that it's easy to breathe and that you're not holding your breath. Make the back foot comfortable. I never said here, you can have the back toes tucked or untucked, whatever feels comfortable. Different days I do different things with the feet here. This posture is going to come in 3 parts today. So this is part 1, of course. Second part coming up shortly. I think it's sometimes useful to give yourself something different to do within the scope of a posture. Although that kind of sounds like a contradiction in terms, because we're staying in a posture for a period of time. Giving yourself something to do might mean that we're just unnecessarily moving, I guess. But this kind of posture is pretty intense, so it's easy to want to fidget. So this is like a built-in fidget for those that are feeling this already. Okay, second part coming up. Walk the right foot to the outer edge of your mat. So right foot to the right side. Hands on the inside without moving the hips across. So keep your right hip in place where it is without moving the pelvis if you can. We're going to reach the hands to the left. Both hands, maybe even off the mat. And so think, if you know downward dog, you might, oh no, in fact, that posture we did at the beginning, puppy, we're pressing the hands into the floor, extending the arms, a little bit like puppy posture, the one where we had the knees under the hips and the arms reaching right out. So there should be a slight side body opening, as well as all the stuff going on in the hips and legs still. So maybe reaching off your mat. If you can't reach off your mat, that's fine. It doesn't have to be this far or this big. And see how it feels. Don't feel like you have to hold it. If it's too intense, you can reach, you can back off, lessen the intensity. just want to add something here, which is around how we experience a home yoga practice. It's probably most challenging place to do yin yoga is at home. It's very tempting to want to do something else or get drawn into everyday life whilst you're facing this kind of challenging posture. And so notice your tendency to want to do that as a fun observation, not a punishment, but notice what you find around that. Don't feel bad about that. Don't, it's normal. We're easily distracted. Our minds are easily distracted. Okay, third posture, third part of the dragon coming up. Okay, we're going to walk the hands back to the inside of the foot. So we're going to keep the hands on the inside. However, we're going to keep the left hand down and the right hand to the knee or thigh. And we're going to turn the upper body towards the bent leg, the front bent leg. So it's twisting, twisted dragon. You can go lower. You might want to bring your left forearm down if possible. It's a long way down there, not going to work for everybody. So hand or forearm down, twisting to your right side. It doesn't really affect the quality of the posture that much if you're low down or not, but it does make it more restful in your wrist. So that's the only thing that is good about going lower for me, is that it takes pressure off my wrist joint. We're nearly there, guys. This is a pretty intense sequence today. It's just a matter of a few more breaths here. Just a few more breaths. Let's prepare to move. Prepare your body. Use your hands. Take some weight off your legs. Lift the hips slowly. Start to move slowly, 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 slowly. You can do whatever you like in order to exit the posture, in order to recover. You can rest. You can stay still. You might want to move around. So do what feels good. Notice how your mind might have automatically shifted to the thought of the second side. But let's begin again, start afresh. Let's see what happens. Might not be the same experience. All about perspective. So left foot forward. Left foot is reaching up as far as you feel comfortable to move to, with your back knee further back than your pelvis if you can. It doesn't have to be this far, but it could be further back if possible. Low in the hips, hands either side of that front foot, so the thighs hugging into the upper body or just to the outside edge of the upper body. Toes comfortable at the back, and settle down. Notice how that left hip feels. So if you felt a lot of the challenge on the first side was the left hip, notice how it feels now. Now that you're in the second side and the posture on the second side. Notice your breath again. Do what you can to assist a sense of softening, releasing, relaxing down. Legs, hips, thighs, buttocks, hip joints, and then everything else. So head, neck, face, your breath. All going to assist you in releasing here. Part 2 coming up. Didn't tell you the second part is called Wandering Dragon. Left foot over to the left side of your mat, so it's gone wider in your hips and pelvis. Keep the hips fixed, so try not to swing them over to the right. And then reaching your hands across to the right, so just the arms and upper chest reaching across without the pelvis moving too much. So you want to keep the left hip back or left hip in place. Notice your breathing. Notice how you experience this posture, how it presents in the body. What is that? Not just the sensation of the stretch, but how does it present in other areas like your chest? Maybe there's that mental shift in this posture, the temptation to fidget, want to move around. When I notice those things happening for myself now, I kind of laugh at myself. And us mere humans are so easily distracted with other things we think are important. So notice what's going on for the sensation for you, how it feels on this second side, maybe surprisingly, or pleasantly surprised is what I was trying to say. As we approach the third part of this posture, so twisted dragon, bring your hands back onto the mat, and you can keep the weight in your right hand or right forearm, left hand onto the leg, and twist to your left, twist to that front bent leg, slightly, more or less, depending on how it feels, but keep your right hip down, of course, because that's where a lot of this sensation is going on. Remember, you can lower down if you've got scope or your body allows you to go lower, but it's not important. Don't feel bad if you can't. It's not essential to this posture. Twisting the chest round. Twisted dragon. Steady out the breath, nearly there. Nearly there, guys. Let's begin to gradually release. Well done. This is tough stuff today. Moving slowly. Slowly as you need, as long as it takes. And again, do whatever feels good. Whatever feels good to put yourself back together. There's no right way or wrong way to move. In fact, a lot of practices take, and part of the practice is to be still, very much still after postures, which is sometimes what we do. We don't do that as much. Stillness is a great way to observe what's going on after you finish the postures. And we're going to take a form of stillness, but it's another posture. So the next posture is possibly a challenge still, but it's going to allow you to maybe settle into a slightly more relaxing position. I say that knowing that actually it's not always going to be relaxing for everybody. And so you can join in your own time. You might want to use your blanket. If you have one, if you haven't got one, it's fine. And what I'm going to get you to do is to have the legs together as much as possible. We sometimes do this posture in class with the legs apart. So sometimes in class I'd get you to either sit between the feet or sit on blocks. But because you might not have blocks at home, and this is a different way to form the same posture anyway, is to have the legs together. And this is where you might want to sit on your blanket. Now, it's a little bit like the idea of doing child pose with the legs together. Initially, the first bit is. But you might experience this quite strongly straight away around your knees and your thighs. So if it's painful in your knees, please don't do this. I'm going to show you another option if this doesn't suit you. It doesn't suit everybody. So legs together as much as you're able to. Hips sit back to heels. This might be enough sensation. It might be in your ankles. It might be around your thighs. And this is a great way to sit and be still. If you're happy and you want to go further, I know some of you who are, especially because I've seen some of the names on there, I know that you might want to go further back. So this is a form of saddle posture with the legs together. And so I'm going to suggest you might want to take the hands out behind so you're leaning back. Obviously builds the sensation in the thighs. Yeah. So bear in mind, you've got the feet together, not apart. This might mean this next option isn't possible for everybody, but you might want to go lower down onto your forearms. It's a long way back when you're sat on your feet rather than between your feet, right? So hands on the floor is a good way. You can turn the hands any way you like, actually. I'd like you to lean back or sit upright. Okay, if you find that posture is not going to work for you, this is the posture you might want to try instead. So you can prop your hips, feet together, knees wide. And again, if you want to lean back, you can rest through your hands and arms this way. Relax your legs. So one of two options that feel a fairly either strong release in the thighs or a more subtle release in the thighs, depending on which posture you've chosen and how you experience this in the body. So go with what works for you and take a few moments to be still, relax, close the eyes maybe. If it's uncomfortable in your arms, feel free to sit upright. Nice way to keep the chest open too. We did all that shoulder work at the beginning. Maybe feeling the effects of that continuing on as well as the stuff going on with the legs and hips and thighs today. And so this posture is called, I don't know if I just said, it's called saddle or a version of saddle posture. In fact, this is the one that I don't teach in class. And I don't teach it because I find it's a bit harder, but I thought actually it worked quite well today bearing in mind we don't have as many props, so it's harder if you lay down, but it doesn't have to be hard or too intense if it's challenging for you to do so. Stay for a few more breaths here. So yeah, a few more breaths rather than an extended period of time today. Hopefully feeling a nice release in the thighs. Relax the legs as much as you can. And slowly beginning to release. So bring yourself up. We're going to lay down. We're going to take a version of the twist. And this particular version is called Twisted Roots posture. So lay on your back. It's quite nice that you can now rest your head and your chest. Your knees bent. Have some space at the sides, obviously, for a twist. Sometimes the legs will come off. If you don't have loads of room for your arms, you can bend the elbows or take a more restful position for your arms. But let's set up the legs. So twisted roots means that the legs cross over, right? Lift the feet, knees bent, keep both legs bent throughout the whole posture. Cross the right leg over the left, if you can, above your knees. Do your best. If you can't go above your knees, do your best to cross the legs at all. Try and cross above your knees. You can just have the legs side by side, or you could tuck your right toes behind the left lower ankle or shin. Oh no, lower leg or calf even. So you can wrap the legs like eagle pose, if you know eagle pose. If you can't tuck the toes under, it doesn't matter. You can take the same posture. And you can take the arms wide. You can have your arms by just sort of more to your side if you don't have space. But we're going to let the legs now drop over to the left. So we've crossed the right leg on top, but we're letting the legs drop to the left. That makes it a bigger twist or a stronger twist. I sometimes like to hold the left hand on the right thigh and then the right arm out to the side. And we did obviously that work on the shoulders. So maybe your shoulders feel open, maybe the right shoulder's easing gently towards the floor. You can turn the head to the right or keep the head more centered and settle in. Twisted roots posture. And allowing the legs to be heavy, the muscles around the spine to relax, the pelvis to relax, the chest to be open. A few more breaths on this side. So gradually releasing, gradually begin to Bring the legs to the middle, uncross, unravel, rest the feet down for a moment. Square off the hips. Prepare second side, lift the feet, knees bent, stay bent as you cross the left over right, maybe tuck the left toes, legs heading over to the right side, allowing them to settle, maybe not necessarily into the floor, but maybe the feet or foot is down, even if the knees and legs are not all the way on the mat. I wouldn't expect the legs to go all the way over. Well, they might, I guess, but actually it will mean that your left shoulders come off the floor, which is okay. So maybe between the 2 points, you can settle down as comfortably as you can. And so left shoulder in the direction of the mat, with or without the arm bent, head turning to the left or head centered. Steady breaths. So we're easing to this full reclined position. Of course, we're going to eventually take Shavasana, take our final resting relaxation. After the intensity of these postures, they're surprisingly challenging. When we look if you were just watching the video and not joining in, you might think, oh, actually, that's okay. Well, I mean, they're okay. You can do the postures without any prior experience to the postures, but it's certainly stronger, surprisingly strong sensations. Heavy through the legs, trying to relax around the hips and the muscles around the spine, around the left shoulder, with an open chest. And then we'll gradually begin to release. So take your time moving to center, unravel the legs, even yourself out from hips to shoulders. And then once you've got your lower back comfortable, which might mean a slight shift of pelvis position, tilt of pelvis, extend or keep your knees bent, but you get your legs even as well. Grab your blanket if you were using it, and then take your arms out to a comfortably spaced position where they're not interfering, or you're not, your upper arms, if you can, not touching your chest. So there's a sense of space to breathe, sense of space without constriction. Let your shoulders rest down. Release the back of the head into the mat. And if you haven't already, you might like to close your eyes in your own time. So settling in gradually and allowing your body to eventually become still. It's funny how that stillness begins to feel easier when we're taking out a lot of the sensation of challenge, or that feeling of discomfort. Our body's sort of primed and ready to release and let go. And so I want you to soften into that, settle down, rest as much as you can. allowing the breath to slow down. Feeling the breath rising and falling. Notice the quality of density or weight in the body. Notice that quality through the heaviness of your skull, the heaviness of your arm bones. The pelvis is very dense, heavy tissue, and so are the thighs, the big thigh bones. Notice that quality down your legs and down into the heels. The heels are the densest bones in the body, allowing the heels to melt into your mat. Noticing the quality of fluidity within the body, the fluidness of your joints, so the joints and tissues around the muscles and the connective tissue, the fluids in the joints, releasing to allow the joint space. Shoulders, the hip joints, your wrists, your ankle joints, and even, and if you can, all of your fingers, thumbs, and all of your toes. The joints in the hands and feet work very hard all of the time. If you can find a quality of fluidity as you release the muscles around the joints through the whole body. As if you're melting now into the mat. Melting down as you rest. And then noticing the quality of air or ether, the breath, filling the open cavity of your mouth and your throat and your chest. It's like there's nothing there, but everything there at the same time. The breath is light. The air moves easily and freely from the inside of your body to the outside of the body. So we are connected to the outside space as much as we are to our inside space. Our breath is infinitely connected to the rest of the world, and we're connected to each other through the breath. We breathe the same air. We are the same air. We are the same space, both inside and outside of our bodies. And so even if we're not in person together with each other in the same room, we are still infinitely connected with each other in this practice, with our loved ones, whether they're in the same town or village or across the other side of the world. We are infinitely connected together. So I'd like you to now bring your attention back into the weight of the body, back into those tangible sensations, feeling the body connected to your mat, connecting where you feel the feet, the legs, the arms, the chest, the head. And then beginning to deepen the breath slightly, just enough to wake up from the inside towards the outside space. And so when you do that, you can of course begin to move as well, moving fingers and toes, gradually bringing your attention back fully into this moment, into the rest of your day. Notice how you feel after taking some rest. And then moving fingers as you do so, moving your hands and arms and moving your legs as well, moving completely or bending or stretching out depending on how you feel as you wake. Take your time to gradually roll over to one side, whatever side works for you. Take a moment on the side of the body. No rush to move. Gradually bring yourself up, so pushing yourself up to a gentle seat of your choice. Sit tall, elongate the spine, balance the head, bring the palms together. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for joining in, whether it's now or later. Again, maybe tomorrow, I don't know. But take what you need from the videos, from the practices. Thank you for helping us stay present. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. Namaste. Mm-hmm.